Okay, I wanted to show you a really important feature on the Fujifilm X-T3 that also exists on the X-H1, but I also want to give you something that no one else has done before, a demonstration of what's happening. This is the shutter mech from an X-T2, same shutter in the X-H1 and X-T3, but we have new options on the X-T3 that we do not have. Nor could you get from a firmware update on the X-T2. This is mechanical shutter. You all know what a mechanical shutter is, but most people think there's only one shutter blade curtain in your shutter mech, and that's not true. There's two, just like in a movie theater. You have a curtain on the left and a curtain on the right. Of course, these are traveling from top to bottom, not left to right. Everybody knows what electronic shutter is. There's no mechanical shutter used. There's actually a digital scan of the sensor. Obviously, you cannot use that for flash photography. And then we have electronic front curtain shutter. And I'm going to show you exactly what that is, but what's really important for you to realize is that this is a wonderful addition to the X-T3, and I found fascinating that they actually, Fujifilm, in the sub-menu, when you actually select electronic front curtain, it will tell you something that's important that nobody realizes, and that is that you actually have better IQ at shutter speeds less than 1/2000th of a second. Because there are two curtains, and I'm going to show you here in a second how they work, on your shutter, when you use electronic front curtain, the first curtain, instead of using a physical curtain, which actually sits at the bottom of the shutter mech and is not operated, only operates the second curtain. So when you use electronic front curtain at shutter speeds less than 2000, what you end up with is, on a normal mechanical shutter, is you end up with this double whammy that actually introduces shake into your shot. So the first curtain drops, and so you end up getting a slam of where the curtain stops abruptly, kind of like braking your car and you slide forward, right? And then you have a second curtain drop. So every time you take a picture with a mechanical shutter, you get this double whammy, wham wham, of both curtains on the shutter. With electronic front curtains, you reduce the wear on the shutter mech by half, since you're only using one physical curtain on the shutter, and also, too, you greatly reduce the amount of shake. The only downside is that you will get banding about half the time, depending on the shot, with flash photography. So you want to go out of electronic front curtain for flash photography. But there's also a great option found on the X-H1 that's also found on the X-T3 here. And it'll show you right here. And this is what you should be using all the time, except for two options. One, when you're doing flash photography, and number two, when you want to go into high burst rate electronic shutter. And electronic front curtain works up to 1/2000th of a second, or it is extremely effective in reducing shake. Number two, mechanical shutter works faster at 1/2000th of above, where you're not worried about shake, the double whammy from both curtains. And electronic shutter works faster than 1/8000th of a second. So unless you're doing flash photography or high-speed burst, what you want to be in all the time, there's nobody that can argue a reasoning for why, other than flash photography and high-speed burst and electronic shutter, why you would ever want to be anything other than EF plus M plus E. Okay, let's take a look at the shutter mech. This is the actual shutter mech from a X-T2, and it's the same in the X-H1 and the X-T3. Here you see the first curtain, okay, which operates, it drops, and depending on the shutter speed, the second curtain follows that. Of course, I've only got one hand free. After the first curtain drops, depending on the shutter speed, it can drop and the second curtain can fall, or it can start to drop and the second curtain could start to follow it, where you actually have a slit. But an electronic front curtain, if I can adjust the white balance here perfectly, the first curtain is all the way down here, so you have no first wham. The only thing you actually have is the stop, this is important, of once the first curtain is completely dropped. But once it's dropped, you don't care about the slam at the end, because the shot is already been completed, right? So mechanical shutter, you got wham, wham. Okay, electronic shutter, you have none of that. You just actually have a physical scan of the sensor. There we go, adjust the white balance here. There we go. An electronic front curtain, the first curtain is all the way down, and it stays down. And then you actually have a drop of the first curtain. So the only jarring motion from the second shutter curtain stopping is after the shot has been completed, so you're not worried about it. So yeah, these are actually kind of sticking together because, there we go. Now they're kind of folding in on themselves. Actually, I removed this vignette, which is in there, and the back plate, which actually holds everything into place. That's why the shutter blades have kind of slammed into place there. But anyway, you get the point. Also, too, it's fallen off of this pin, but I made my point. The shutter mech is not meant to be, 1, operated manually, and 2, operated without its vignette curtain, which is a metal piece, which actually drops a screen around everything. And it also, too, has these placer mechs that these pins rest into. But anyway, you get the point. This is why you should always be in EF plus M plus E on your X-T3, unless you're doing flash photography, where you should be a mechanical shutter, or electronic shutter when you really want to, knock them out fast. Rip them off at 30 frames per second in 1.25 crop mode. So there is your tip and trick of the day. Other than flash photography, just stay here, because this is best, because you'll have less shutter shake. Because electronic front curtain removes out shake at speeds less than 1/2000. Really, it's the issue about 1/15th to 1/1000th of a second. They can say 1/2000th, but it's basically between 1/60th and 1/1000th of a second that you eliminate out that double jarring motion from the second curtain. Because the first curtain is electronic. That's literally what electronic front curtain means, because it means you only have a second mechanical shutter. EF probably should be called electronic front curtain and mechanical second curtain shutter mode. That would be the full accurate description of what EFC stands for. Electronic first curtain and mechanical second curtain. There's your tip and trick of the day. Stay here, unless you're doing flash photography. Boom. If you like these videos, please click the link below. Tell me to jump off a cliff. Whatever makes you happy. And Fuji.